Welcome to another episode of a Angel and Her Unicorn comic book reviews. I'm Alan the Unicorn, and with me today is Just James. Ta-da! And as always, our lovely Angel Jenny will be with us. We'll be reviewing the books for the week and spoiling them, so if you don't like spoilers, please stop, rewind, wait, pause, read your books, come back, and we'd love to see you again. You should know how this works if you've watched any of our shows. And then eventually at some point...
If you haven't watched our shows, what's wrong with you?
I know, right? Why are you not sitting down with the family watching the shows? Just you should be bringing popcorn and things and stuff, because we talk about things and stuff, and we're very, very...
Thing and stuff oriented.
And entertaining about things and stuff. Needless to say, at some point I will get off my lazy rear end and put the descriptions down below of the times of each book. So you can skip right to it. Until then, let's go ahead and spoil the books of the week. And like, share, and subscribe if you can. We would love to have more people. Yay! More people! Alright, so I'm going to go first since you went first last time, I think. I don't even know. I'm going to go first. That's all there's to it. It's my show. I'm doing it. Dang it. It's my show and I cry if I want to. I'm going to do Resonant. It is by Vault Comics. Written by David Andre and art by Al Aragon. So this is a number one. All the ones I have today I think are going to be number ones. This is it has a little setup in the beginning, and it talks about, like, apparently there is this virus or something that's attacked these people, and this guy is trying to protect his kids. He has to go out and get medicine for one of his kids, and he has to leave them kind of on their own. And they're all kind of younger, probably in the 12, 7-year-old range-ish. And it starts off with one of the girls is also amputee, so she doesn't have her left leg. And she's out burying seeds in the yard, watering them. And then she heads back to the house where her dad's fixing this door. And they have a door behind a bookcase. And he's like... Now, don't forget, once things hit, you got to be able to close the door, and once your bookcase is closed, nobody can find the door, all that good stuff. And she's like, yeah, I know. He goes in there and talks to his other two kids. So he has a daughter with the missing leg, and then the two other kids, and one of his boys, or two boys, and one of the boys is sick, and so he is in a bed, in a hospital bed. And so they have strapped him down, and the dad's going to leave for medicine for him. So he ends up, as he leaves, he opens this hatch and grabs all these, it looks like katydids or some kind of chirping animal that is an insect and has wings and big giant buggy eyes. I'm assuming a katydid. But I'm not what is an entomologist? I'm not, so I have no idea. I'm not for sure what kind of bug it is. So he puts them in his little jar, and he gives her a hug, and he goes out and he sets out about his way. He comes in, and when he gets to the road, there's all these cars, so he's getting ready to make his way through these cars. And it cuts back to the middle boy who said he was going to go check the traps for anything. Since his dad was gone, he said, I'm going to go check the traps, and I'll be back. So he ends up finding a rabbit, and then it cuts back to the dad, who comes into contact with this weird... punk-esque character guy that looks like he's got a knife, he's got all these he's got this weird vest on and this raggedy hair, and he's kind of talking to the dad, and he's like, hey, you got chirpers, or he's like, he goes, can you help me? And the guy's like, I can't really help you. He's very wanting to stay away from him, and the other guy's just trying to kind of force himself and get closer and closer to him. He's like, can't you just give me a chirper? And he's like, no. He goes, I'll give you one, but I'm going to set it on the ground, and then you can wait till I walk away, and then you can come and get it. But it cuts back to the middle boy, who kills the rabbit, and he hears noises, and he sees two other little boys playing, and he ends up, while he's watching them play, he ends up breaking a twig, and when that happens, the one boy says, oh, I think I've heard something, so the little boy runs off and leaves his knife. So I think that's going to lead the other little boys to the house at some point, I'm assuming. And then it cuts to the dad giving the guy the cricket, but all of a sudden the cricket the katydid starts chirping. And so when it starts chirping, that is, I guess, a sign that something is coming. some kind of evil something or other. This wave of something. So the dad, like, sucker punches the weirdo, ties him up with a noose, and he sits down and he starts to begin to do this chant, and like almost a rhyme or a saying. And then it cuts to the little boy or the kids. The little boys come running back, and his chirper goes off, so he's running even faster. And then the girl with the leg is, or girl with missing leg is trying to get, she's right behind him. Well, the little boy falls, and she throws her crutch and just grabs the boy and like throws him into the house. And so the boy takes off, straps the littlest boy down, and right before he gets in, the little girl hooks a rope around his leg and like hauls him up on this rafter so he's upside down. And she's like, "I'm sorry." And then she shuts the door, and so she's on one side, the middle boy's hanging by his foot, and then the little boy's in the bed like knocked out. And so the little girl starts chanting, and it kind of cuts between her and her father chanting, and that's the end of the issue. Weird. It's weird. But it makes me. It's almost a good weird to where I want to know more, and I want to kind of read issue 2 just to see what this is all about. It gives a very post-apocalyptic. I think that's what it is. Cutting to is kind of like a Walking Dead-esque kind of world where I guess this like thing is killing people, and if it gets in your head, I'm not for sure how that's all working out. So obviously they have more to explain. I like the way that it was written. I feel like the dialogue was actually pretty decent. The art was not my favorite. It was very sketchy and like very rushed, and so a lot of things were not as clear as I'd like them to be. But it still wasn't bad. I guess it worked okay for the book. So I would just give it like kind of a middle of the road. I'm interested to see. It has something to build on, but I can see where this would not be everybody's bag, because it is very much a post-apocalyptic, end of the world kind of thing, and I feel like that's fizzling out as a theme more and more. People are kind of, it's like, how many times can you do this? And so
one more.
Yeah.
With the real one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, you know what I mean, though? Does that make sense? Because I feel like there's just definitely a feel like that nowadays. It's like it's post-apocalyptic. Everything's post-apocalyptic. Everything's the end of the world, and everybody's trying to survive, which I think is a good premise. But I don't know. Like, after a while, it's like, okay, you can only do so much suspense, and I don't know. It's just kind of, it's kind of losing its flavor as much as for me. But this book was kind of interesting. I liked, like I said, I liked the characters. I thought the girl was kind of interesting with the missing leg. It's kind of neat. It's just kind of gives it a different kind of take. And then the dad. So I'm curious to see where this is gonna go. So I would give it 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. I can definitely see where a lot of people may not like this, or they would love it. Like, I feel like there's definitely. I mean, there's gonna be people all over the spectrum on this book, but I can definitely I can see where everybody's viewpoint would be. Because there are some minuses in this book, there are some pluses in this book, and for me it was just a good, decent read, and so we'll see what number 2 brings. Good luck.
Okay. Well, sticking with the Vault Comics theme, my first book will be The Mall by Vault Comics. It's by co-authored by Gary Dauberman and Michael Moreci, and arts by Zach Hartong. And I read this in actual comic form, so I don't have it in front of me to reference off of.
Oh.
But the world has.
Is it a number 1 or is it like?
It's a number 1.
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
It's it starts off. There's a little blurb at the beginning, kind of sets the scene, which so many people don't do that anymore. They just, oh, that's lazy writing, and just jump right in and you'll figure it out. The little blurb was not that long, and it really helped.
I'll give my opinion.
I missed the little blurb, so
I mean, like,
felt it was.
I don't think it's that bad if it was an ongoing series, but when you're first starting out and then we have to like you have to explain your comic before you even start out. That's what gets me.
But like this one states, so the premise is something bad happened to the world years ago. It's not safe to be outside. There's very few people left, and the author's like, well, nobody really knows what happened. It happened long before I was born, and my whole world, everyone that I know, we live at the mall. And that was the blurb. So
I don't think
it does it sets the scene very quickly, and so you're not going, well, is this now? Is it what happened? They don't know what happened, so you don't have to waste a lot of time trying to piece that together. So anyway, it starts out, there's a girl running through the mall, and they said it's like split into tribes. It's not a big happy mall, and these people are chasing her, and they corner her, and they take something from her, and you find out that it's a baby.
Oh no.
And so then it cuts to another gentleman, and he wakes up. He's in a locked room, and some other people are trying to get in with him. And there's a dead person on the ground next to him. And the people trying to get in are accusing him of killing this person. And he's saying, no, I didn't kill this person. Let me explain myself. Let me try to find out who did. And
that always goes well.
He states that he's the... It alludes to the fact that he's the son of the leader of another tribe. And that the dead person on the ground was the leader of the tribe of people who were trying to break in the door and get him for killing their leader. The leader had a oxygen tank. You assume he had some kind of health problems. So this guy breaks the cap off the oxygen tank, and when the gang breaks in, one of them has a flamethrower. Well, he throws the oxygen tank, the oxygen, and the pilot light from the flamethrower ignite, and he gets away in the explosion. So he runs through the mall and runs into a third tribe who capture him, and he's like, our two tribes have been buddies. He's like, if you'll just get me back to my dad, you know he'll treat you fair. And the other guy's like, well, no, we're gonna turn you over to this other one for judgment. That's the way the wind's blowing, and so they're leading him to turn him in, and the gal from the beginning, the one whose baby got taken, there's an ambush, and she basically does a Terminator to him. Come with me if you want to live. And he's like, screw that. And so he heads off on his own, and he goes to like a smaller mall store, and it's got the chain doors up, and he's like, come on, Barry, let me in. And the guy's like, I got my kids to think about, and I can't let you in. And so he ends up getting recaptured by the Allied tribe, and they turn him over to the Revenge tribe, I guess I'll call them, and they as he's the Revenge tribe tells him, well, the way we're going to do your sentence is the way we've always done it. We're going to banish you to the outside, and you'll either melt or be eaten by the beasts. Whatever's outside the mall apparently is not
The place
fit
to
for
be.
not fit for life. So they're gonna kick him out, and he's still pleading. And right as they're about to kick him out, some arrows come out of an air vent, and it's the girl from the beginning. She's like, "I told you you should have come with me." And he says, "I hope you've got more of a plan than just attack these guys." And she opens up it's like a maintenance hatch to the basement or the under crawlway, and he's like, "Yep." There's no way I'm following you in there. And she's like, "That's up to you." And she jumps in, and he looks around and decides to jump in after her. And the Revenge Tribe is like, "Well, they'll be dead by morning anyway. Nobody comes back from the under." And that's where it ends.
Oh.
So it was pretty fun. It set an interesting scene. The art was not great, but it was decent. I liked it. The mall is such a had been such a thing, and it's funny because they're kind of, after years of being the place, they're kind of starting to die out. So it's a good place to have. That's where humans end up, and you could see how, different tribes would split up the mall, and the Jamba Juice tribe and the Walden Books tribe and
the Sears Roebucks.
Yeah. So
I could see that.
I liked it. I'd give it a 3 horns.
Nice. I'm surprised I missed that one. Normally I'm on top of all these number ones. Speaking of, I'm going to do DC's Young Animal. It is their Collapser.
I read that.
Did you? So it is written by Sean Simon and Mikey Way. And the pencils are Ilias Kirizakis. I have no idea. I'm supposed to start using first names. So it starts off with, there's this dead body. This it looks like a space lady. She's like in this little retro space outfit, and she's got all this black blotches that are kind of look like little, almost like a black hole disease of some kind. And then all of a sudden the black hole, the disease starts coming off of her, and then it leaves her, and there's a ship that takes off. Cuts to Earth, where this guy is in the bed, and somebody's knocking at his door, and he takes his little anime sword, or his little prop, his sword
Apparently
prop.
it's bad to have your door knocked on in this world.
Well, I think it's supposed to be like New York or something like that. Like, nobody knocks on your door, and he's like, oh wait, maybe it's a delivery man. So it ends up being a delivery man, which the delivery man looks like a zombie alien anyways. So
he thinks he's getting robbed, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Why would robbers knock on my door?" Well, maybe that's their shtick.
Yeah. They're gonna shake my hand, they're gonna walk in, or they're gonna rob me. But it ends up being a delivery guy. So the delivery guy gives him this package, and he leaves it at the door, and he goes on about his day. Where apparently
forgot the important thing about the package.
It's bleeding, or it's like leaking.
That it says it's from his mom.
Oh yes, that's right.
And he doesn't.
He doesn't know his mom. He's never met
his mom.
he never met his mom.
Why would my mom send me a package?
Yeah, but doesn't he say she's dead? And this is
and he's like, I don't even know who she is.
Yeah, I've never met her, so yeah, and it ends up being his inheritance. So he goes to his job, where I guess he's like a orderly of some kind in some kind of facility. Some guy ends up peeing on him because he misses the bedpan, and then he's trying to get to this old guy to play chess, but the doctors keep sending him all of those stuff. Like, he has to change the lady's bandages. He has to help the guy with his dentures. There's a dead guy, and as he goes, he doesn't get to play chess with this old man, which apparently is like his buddy, and he's promised him. So he puts the guy to bed, and he goes, "I promise you tomorrow." So he goes back home. He goes to the local grocery store, and at the grocery store, the bodega, there is one guy that is at the register, and there's a picture of his dad, who is passed away, and he's like, I still miss him, all that stuff. So it cuts back to the planet where the lady in the spacesuit's at, and there's a guy that comes and he's like, "It's gone. You know, where did it go?" And so he's trying to find apparently this black whatever thing she had on her, and then it cuts back to Earth to the human guy, and he gets dressed, goes to this bar, meets his girlfriend, where he's like a DJ. And so he's DJing, and he's got the set. He's got the set going, and when he does, he's like, I mean, like.
And we're back.
And we're back. Sorry, very important phone calls. James is a very important person. Lots of missions to take and things to do. So the guy ends up being a DJ. So he DJs his set. Well, during his set, the power goes out, and he kind of loses his mind, gets angry about it. The girlfriend's like, you know, she throws all the stuff on.
There's a big record exec there. That was going to be his big break if everything went perfect.
Supposedly, yes. But he doesn't even know who the record exec was or who he was even there with. So he's not for sure on that one. But yeah. So he gets mad, goes home. He's really angry about this. And all of a sudden, a black hole sucks him in. And he finds this, like, black hole creature. Which, like, it touches him and, like, ends up going in his chest. And he wakes up 3 days later. His friend came in. He's like, "Why'd you leave your door open? Why are you holding your like prop sword?" He goes, we haven't heard from you. What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, it's been 3 days." So he doesn't realize his time's been missing. And then he goes back. He goes, "Well, I'm gonna." He grabs a pack of smokes at the bodega, where he goes in, and it's the dad of the guy that's dead. Is behind the counter, and he's like, "What's going on?" Well, when the guy turns around, half his head's missing. So apparently this guy's dead. So he runs off, freaks out. And he's like, "What's going on?" And he doesn't realize what's going on. And then he's trying to get his head around all this stuff. And this guy, the guy from that found the woman's astronaut body, he shows up and he tries to kill him. But when he does, the guy disappears. Like he teleports to Stonehenge. And that's about the end of it. And when he does teleport Stonehenge, the sword comes with him. So I'm assuming the sword is going to be part of something. I don't know. I had mixed feelings about the book. I did feel like it was almost like it was trying to be gross for gross sake. Like, I felt, like, they kept doing this inner monologue thing where, he was like, he kept getting grosser and grosser. And it's just like, I could have done without that. I don't think the premise is bad, though. I'm curious to see where it's going to go a little bit. But I don't know if that was almost a turn-off to where I was just like, okay. Like, it got a little too boring. I don't know. Like, I can't put my finger on it. Like, it was almost like they gave you too much mundaneness, and then, like, all of a sudden, like, the last 3 pages was all this wackiness. It's like, okay. When we could have done, they could have done a little bit more where, I don't know, I wish they would have set it up a little bit differently, but I don't know. It just...
I wasn't wild about the art. And the story was, I kept thinking,
there's just something that was off about it, but I'm not for sure.
There's nothing that's just really making me want to read issue 2 and see how this turns out.
No. Yeah. Sadly, it was okay. Like, I don't know, like, I just wish there was... I felt like it was another Naomi. Like, Naomi Bendis took, like, 3 or 4 issues to even get anywhere, and I feel like this was kind of, like, it was a little bit quicker than that, obviously, because they show some stuff at the very end, but I don't know, like, there's almost too much... Like, you don't need the whole book to be about his life right away.
We get it. His life is crap.
Yeah, we get it. He's like, he's normal. Okay, he's trying to make it. But I wish they could have, I wish they would have either done the hospital thing, life, and then cut to the good stuff, or they would have done he goes to the nightclub and is a DJ kind of stuff. I didn't need both at the same time, I think, for me. It was a little bit too much on top of each other, so. I mean, but it was... I liked the art. I thought the art was interesting. But
I didn't care for it.
it was just, I mean, but it wasn't like anything great, and so I don't know. It just was what it was. I'd say probably 2 out of 5 unicorns, 2.5. Like, it wasn't quite great. I don't think I'm gonna read issue 2. I might, but I read a lot of stuff, so. But it's not my intention to read it. If I happen to find it and see it and get it again, I probably will. But we'll see. So I'm curious to see. This DC Young Animals thing is just weird. Like,
I think it's about ready to go away.
Is it?
I
thought they'd
don't
already
quote
gotten
me on that, but
I
I
thought
thought
they-
it was.
I thought they'd already gotten rid of it. I thought they were done with it, but then all these other number ones came out, and even like Doom Patrol, I thought they were done with Doom Patrol, and then it started back up. I reviewed that a couple weeks ago, and I wasn't impressed with that one either. I'm not quite sure their audience. Like, it says young animals, but I'm like, if I was a young person, I wouldn't read this. Like, it's just, or I don't know. I guess I'm not the audience. I guess I'm not a young animal. And now I'm disappointed.
It's okay.
I'm gonna cry. You do your book.
Okay. My next book is Silver Surfer Black #2.
Oh, you read number 2?
Yeah. So the last one got sucked into a black hole, finds a whole universe inside of it,
Like
gets
Magic
pulled
and
down
Gold?
to a planet. At the end of it, he's confronted by Null, the god of the symbiotes.
Bum, bum, da, da.
So in the
Which
this,
he's been around a lot lately. Like, that thing.
well, he's the flavor of the month.
Yeah. Jeez.
So he and Surfer are kind of fighting. Surfer thinks back to the first time he encountered him, looking for a planet to grab for Galactus. And I guess they made it sound like the whole planet was just this whirling mass of symbiotes, and that this Null was tough and not somebody to be messed with. So it jumps back to the Surfer, and they battle it out for a while, and Null's kind of being arrogant and amazing, an evil god being arrogant. And
It happens, you know.
at one point, the Surfer tries to banish him again, and he hits him with the big and the last one, his hand had been turned black.
Yeah.
And this time he hits him with a big super blast again, while it turns his whole arm black. So it's
Slowly getting rid.
yeah, he's using up his power. So he's on the outs, and you see a big booming voice like in his head. And I thought it was Galactus because he calls him Harold. But he's like, Harold, brace yourself, this is gonna hurt. And this big like energy blast hits, and it's centered on Silver Surfer, and it kind of pulls him out of there. And as he's rocketing away, Null gets on a big dragon beast. It's like a dragon lion looking thing, and chases after him. And then the Surfer does something, and it blasts the dragon lion away, and then Surfer's pulled, and it's Ego, the living planet. So Ego proposes they team up to try to
Stop the hilarity.
stop the
That's
Null.
insane.
So it was okay. The art is
It's definitely a stylized.
Yeah.
I mean, like honestly, I think looking at the first issue, I definitely think like he would be really neat, that artist, if he did like a fantasy book. Like, I really liked his like
everything's flowing and
and round and like
Yeah.
elongated, and I mean, I guess I can see how this book works for him, but Yeah.
So
It's definitely a style that's interesting but different.
but it's not really my cup of tea. It's probably 2.5 horns.
I
So
don't I wouldn't disagree. I didn't get to read that issue, but the black was okay for me. I could have done without it. But I'm like I did the last Silver Surfer one where it was Mike Allred. I love Mike Allred. He does some weird stuff, but I don't know. Like his stuff was kind of fun and just interesting. And
Allred stylized stuff works. This guy's this artist. It's just
yeah. It's definitely a taste. So I'm gonna finish mine with Blade Runner 2019. This is set in the Blade Runner world, and it talks about how there's people, but then they made artificial intelligence that are stronger and better. But they put them out for they made them be manual labor on different planets and survive environments, and but they're not allowed on Earth. And so when they come to Earth, or they get to Earth, then the Blade Runners find them and hunt them down. So this one, it talks about Ash is the female Blade Runner. She's one of the first ones, and they talk about her being like the best one. So it starts off with she's talking about body parts, like how much body parts are like would go for, and then it's her sitting in this chair talking to this a synthetic guy, and she's like your eyes are going to be the most expensive. You think your heart would be, but it actually doesn't go, it's not as much as the other organs, but your eyes are what's really expensive. And so she gives him this knife, and she's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to end it, or do you want to go ahead and do you want me to make you make you into $1 million, and or do you want to end it? And he's like, she's like, you really don't have the balls for it. And so he takes the knife, and he's like, oh, I have. He goes, my name's Benjamin, and he goes, and he stabs his eyes out, and then he cuts his throat, so that way she couldn't get them. And so she gets mad because she's like, I really didn't think he had it in him, but she gets mad because that was going to be like her retirement. She was going to use, she was going to sell his body parts and like be done with it. So she's kind of a corrupt copish, looking character. She goes to this bar where there's this lady who gives her kind of another mission where she's kind of forced on her. She doesn't want to do it, and the lady's like, you really don't have a choice. You've been requested. That's all there is to it. It's this rich guy. His daughter's been kidnapped. You need to go find him. So she goes and she flies and finds the rich guy lives on this island, and she flies and lands and talks to him. And when he talks to he's like, my wife is we've been together for a while. My kid is really good. My chauffeur's been with me forever. And she's like, she's like, well, why would you think that they would want her? And he's like, well, there are some people that would use my kid against me. So he's like, that's why I don't make it public. And so I want to keep it private. And he goes, I really just, they've been gone. And I just want to make sure that, I want to find them so they're safe. So she's, she kind of realizes that there's something else underneath there, and she's not for sure what it is. And so she goes to her usual avenues, and she ends up finding the car with the chauffeur in the dump. And she starts, something ends up happening, and she hurts herself, and she's like screaming. And so she's like, she calls the cops, and she's like, I can't stay here to do a report, but like there's this body in this car. You need to come get this car. And so she's trying to leave, and she's writhing in pain, and she leaves the scene. And then it cuts to the daughter and the wife or the mom, and they're trying to flee, like they're trying to get away. And then it cuts back to the detective, and the detective reveals that she is actually she has modifications to herself too, because at the beginning the person that gave her the case was like, why don't you ever take your jacket off? That's just weird. People think you're weird because you don't do it. So kind of find out, she's like, the reason why I don't take my jacket off and the reason why I sell, why I need the money is to get medicine so that I can pay for this, because she has this surgery, but if she doesn't make her payments, and they cut her off, and like she can't walk, and so she has like this big giant spinal thing. She has this wheelchair with all these hookups in the back, and so she's sitting in it, kind of like writhing in pain, and gives her that moment of weakness. And then it cuts back to the daughter and the mom, and they're getting ready to get kind of mugged by these guys, and the wife just ends up kicking the crap out of him, and you find out she's a synthetic because she's stronger than everybody else. And then so but she was late to the pickup point, so that's why she was like, they left. They left without me. Well, when she beats up the guys, she's like, we'll figure something out. And all of a sudden, this guy comes behind her, and he's like, you were late. I went to go looking for you. Let's go. Let's get you out of here. And that's the end of it. So all in all, like, actually, it was really. I'm not a huge Blade Runner fan. Like, I not that it was bad. I think a lot of it was very convoluted. There was a lot of stuff behind the Blade Runner. I think there was a lot of stuff that was just. It was a lot. Blade Runner and the movie itself was just a lot. It's very classic. It's very amazing. The cinematography is really neat for its time and all that good stuff. But it is the mythology kind of gets a little weird. The dialogue gets a little weird. I was worried that this was going to be like that, and it was not. Like, everything was very clear. It made sense. The dialogue was actually pretty decent. I like that they gave her like a little bit. They kind of made her shadowy. She's not a goody two shoes, and so. She's selling these body parts to pay for her surgeries and, keep herself walking. And then, it's like, I thought that was a really neat kind of twist. And then the art was pretty decent. It was okay. It wasn't like anything that was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, but it was good. And I think the kind of like the case she's going after was kind of neat too, about the wife's a synthetic, and she has a daughter. So it's kind of like, well, how's that working? Like, how's, it's like, so I'm interested to see how this is going to go. So I actually really enjoyed it, which I was surprised about. I didn't think I would. It wasn't the best book I've read all day or all week this week, but it was still good. Like 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. Still a good story, middle of the road kind of book. So, yeah. All right, James, wrap it up, and then you can get you some eats.
My last book is Sonata number 2. I reviewed number 1. It's from Image. It's by David Hine and Brian Haberlin. Art's also by Brian Haberlin. I love this book.
You really liked this first issue too.
Yeah, I liked the first issue. It was opposing tribes on this planet. The one tribe dammed up the water, and the other tribe's trying to get them to at least release some of the water. When they refused, in the first book they blew up the dam, and they screwed up when they blew it up, and it
Released
collapsed
water,
everything, released too much water. So this book starts with the dammers, I guess.
Dammies?
No,
dammers.
The son of one of them, and they see the dam go, and they get in their flyers, and they see that this is going to flood everything, so there's these native creatures that everybody thinks are primitive. When the water hits their village, this kind of force field pops up and keeps everything safe. And everybody's like, what's going on there? I thought they were primitive. And so this guy, he sees that, so he's looking for the girl from the first one. In the first book, the girl and one of the primitives, after the flood, had fallen through a crack and found these ruins underground. There wasn't supposed to be anything down there, so they switched to her and the red guy, and he's like, this place is taboo. You can't be seeing this. We need to leave. We need to leave right now. And she's not listening to him. She's looking around. He's like, we have to. It's my duty to kill you that you don't see this. And she's still not getting it, and won't leave. And he's the the guy from the other faction is watching all this, and he's getting ready to shoot the red guy, and then the red guy's like, he says, "Oh, our duty to friendship is higher than our duty to protect this secret. So I can't kill you, but we've got to get out of here." And so the guy lets him live. The girl finds this writing. She sees all these symbols. She's like, "Well, this is writing," and the other guy's like, "No, that's not writing. It just scribbles." And she's like, "No, these symbols repeat. No, this is writing." He's like, "No. This no. I assure you, this is apps. No,
pay no attention to the man behind the curtain."
And she's like, this looks like writing," and he's like, the Lumani is what they're called. Well, they neither read nor write. And she's like, "Are you lying to me?" He's like, "I can't answer your questions. Please stop asking questions." And so it's nighttime. He's like, "Well, we can't get out of here today. We need to rest, but we need to get the hell out of here." And she can't sleep, so she finds a piece of jewelry in the wreckage. Well, it activates an artifact that looks kind of like a Stargate or something, and the red guy, the Luminari, she's gonna explore it. Luminari's like, get away from there. Can I please impress upon you to stop exploring and stop touching things? So she goes through the jump thing, and they disappear. And so the guy from the other tribe follows them. When they go through, she looks up in the sky, and from the constellation, she's like, "We're in the southern hemisphere. This thing's like a teleporter. This is so cool. How'd you do that? Please stop asking questions." And he's like, "We got to go back. We can't be here." And then this giant monster bird attacks them, and just then the guy from the other tribe comes through, and he kills the monster bird, and introduces himself. Well, I mean, that's a...
I know, but it's just a funny description. It's a monster bird.
It's a big monster bird with 2 sets of teeth, and so he introduces himself. So it flips back to the original people, and the guys that built the dam are pissed that it got blown up, so they're going to the demolition crew is flying away, but they're in slower flyers, so these guys are going to try to catch them and shoot them down. And so there's they catch them, but they're outnumbered, so they let the saboteurs go home, but then they can't find the girl. So the dam builders and the saboteurs meet, and they're having, since both of them it's one kid from both of the leaders that are missing. They're like, "Okay, we've got a truce until we find these kids." And the dam builders are saying, "We've got we've got satellites in orbit that can tell us where our people are, and it shows that they're in the southern hemispheres. Well, that's not possible. Your machines must be right. Our machines are never wrong. And the red guys are like, oh, they got swallowed by the quake. There can't have been any survivors. And so they're starting to realize that the red guys are hiding something from them. And so just then a large monster creature comes and eats one of the dam builders. So I'm not doing it justice with my description, but
I don't know. That's pretty good acting.
I really like.
Gotta go. No, we're not going. Oh, we really need to.
Please stop asking questions.
Oh.
I gave the number 1 issue 5 unicorn horns. I guess I gotta give this one 5.5 because it got better. It's I just really enjoy this book. The art's gorgeous. They're dishing out enough information that you're not lost, but not enough that you're like, well, what's the point in reading the book?
Yeah.
And
or so confusing that you don't care what
yeah, I mean, we're only 2 in, and we know that these red guys are hiding something, that they've got much higher technology than they're letting on, but you don't know why they aren't sharing it, why they're keeping it a secret, and so it's very enjoyable. I recommend it.
Awesome. Did you get to read any more?
That was it. I
Rushed you?
did get to read Collapser. Resonant was on my list, but I didn't get time. And there was the Sierra of the Rising
Royal Stars.
Local comic shop, Impulse Creations, did a exclusive cover by a local artist, and I'm going to butcher her name. I apologize. Natasha Altisiri. Anyway, so I went to that yesterday. I got a signed copy of it. She also does the book Heathen. I think it's also by Vault. But she was
she was there giving.
Yeah, she was there. She was very nice and real talented.
Awesome. I did get to read it. So I read a couple things. I read Gretel. Gretel number 5 ended the. It was 5 out of 5. So she finally fights the witch that has given her all this hell. She ends up ripping out her own heart and killing herself so that the girl, because the witch wants to use her for power, and she's like, no. So she rips out her own heart and kills herself. But then the witch hunter that she's made friends gets the witch and blows up the witch and pulls out her heart and gives it to, and puts it in Gretel. So Gretel has now the witch that gave her power as heart, and now she's kind of like whole. But that was where it ended. It was like, I mean, I'm not gonna say it again. Cinescope, just good books, good characters. 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. I really enjoy it. Same thing with Hellchild. Although the only thing I don't like about Hellchild is the art is a little bit not the greatest. Gretel's a little bit better, and so is Arrow or Robin Hood, and but Hellchild was just, the art's okay. But Hellchild number 4 ended their issues. I feel like this character is really interesting, but they don't do really much with her. Like, I don't think they have enough with her. Like, it's just, or maybe I'm not reading the right ones, but I like the character, but they don't do well with her. So I'd say 3 out of 5 unicorn horns on that one. Black Badge, they finished their stuff. They kind of, the last issue, they kind of met the last of the original Black Badges, and then this book, they're kind of they're showing that they can do good things. So they're out in the world doing good things, and kind of ends it on a good note. I think the book is done. I'm assuming the way they kind of ended it, it looks like it's kind of complete, or this chapter is complete. But I really like this book. Like the premise was interesting, the characterization was interesting, the dialogue was really good. I didn't like the art. The art was really, it was hard to tell people, and that kind of got annoying. But I mean, like this is the same artist all the way through all 12 issues. But I give this one a really good rating. It's 4 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because of the writing and stuff. Sierra and the Royal Stars. Art wasn't that bad. Art was pretty good. Story was interesting. I'm curious to see where it's gonna go. It's this girl. She's the princess. See, two brothers are fighting, and then the kids of one of the brothers is Sierra and her sister and brother, and then there's another uncle that they're fighting against, and he has a son. And Sierra gets plagued with visions, and her mom died from the same thing, kind of something similar. And so she gets sent on this quest for these visions. So she goes and she ends up meeting this, what was it? It was some kind of god. And so he sends her on a quest. I thought it was actually kind of interesting. 3.5 unicorn horns. I would, it's kind of interesting start to a series. I like the art and strong female characters, so I'm curious to see where it's going to go. I'll definitely get number 2 and see how that goes. Teen Titans number 32 was actually pretty decent. I don't know. I gave up on Teen Titans and now I'm back, and so now I've kind of liked this one. It ends the Crush Lobo kind of story. Lobo came to stop everybody and kill Crush because he doesn't want any of the Caesarians. They end up, the Teen Titans kind of protect her. They kind of fight with each other, and hilarity ensues, and they save her in a way to where they make they kind of make Lobo, the genie like uses her magic to make Lobo not kill them, and so she ends up saving them somehow. The life and death of Toyo Harada is Valiant. It's okay. 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. The only reason I'm really reading it is because I really like the secondary characters. I like his little group of superpower people, but they don't really use them well, and I think I might be giving this one up. So apparently he's dead, and so his group of heroes, or his group of people, are trying to save this space cable that they're supposed to help get space junk from around the Earth to kind of harvest it, and the world wants it. He's trying to stop everybody, so he can have the technology, and they fighting over it because Toyo Harada is dead, and but ends up at the end he's not dead. So I don't know.
It's a comic book, of course it's not.
It's a comic book. Nobody's ever dead. But 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. That one wasn't very good. It was okay. IDW Ragnarok: The Breaking of Helheim. 1 out of 5 unicorn horns. I don't even know. The art was not that good. The story was not that good. It's just a weird take on mythology.
Walt Simonson, who nobody's done Thor better, doing the Norse gods at the end of the world, and he can't pull it off, huh?
I didn't like it.
Weird.
I didn't like it at all. Well, like Thor is not even it's not even a god. He's a god, but he's not. And he's got he's just a skull. Like he's just a skull. It's not even like a full skull. It's like,
I think they did a Ragnar. I think this may be like part 2, so you may be coming in the middle.
Maybe that's what it is, but it's not very good. I didn't like it at all. And the I don't know. It was it got confusing, and a lot of this, I was not a fan. I didn't think it was very good. His pacing was weird, and the story was weird. Maybe I am missing a book, but I mean, it's issue 1, so I should be able to at least.
But I think there's anyway. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know. I just didn't get it. Sorry. The Unstoppable Wasp number 10, 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. It's definitely got an audience. I think it's a younger reader or a younger female reader. It's got a lot of female empowerment, which is awesome. The only thing is it does get a little bit wordy. There's a lot of wall of words, and it does get a very not preachy is not the right word. It gets to a very much a point of kind of shoving things down to your throat, or like that's all they talk about. Like they touch on great subjects, but I think sometimes they do it a little heavy-handed, which kind of takes you back a little bit more than. And I think that's why it ended up getting canceled, because it was very much they focused on instead of focusing on a good story with female empowerment, they focused on female empowerment and tried to make a story out of that. And even like like there was a lot of tropes to it, and it just felt very forced. So this ending, I'm glad it ended, but I liked the book, but I think they could have done something different, and I think it would have continued on, because the characters are really neat. They're kind of fun, and I'm really kind of sad to see them go, but I can definitely see why it only made it 10 issues, unfortunately. Loki #1, it was okay. It's kind of, I don't know, I always hope books are going to be great, but it's not. Unfortunately, this one wasn't that good. I'd say 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. He's king of the is it Jotunheim? What's the ice place? Jotunheim. So he's king of Jotunheim. Thor's king of he's king of Asgard, and so Loki leaves and leaves nobody in charge, and so he goes to Vegas and is like. This Vegas place and is gambling, and so they have to go find him because his realm's having issues, so they need their king, and Thor kind of like telling him how he should be a good king and all this stuff, and you shouldn't just leave, and it just wasn't that good. It was okay. I mean, just not for me, I guess. The Unearthians, I have no idea. Like this one, there's 2 guys. It was very homoerotic-esque. Like, it's these 2 guys that are best friends, but it's like a little bit, like they force that subject a little bit too much, but they're not together, but they've been together. Like, it gets weird. Like, I'm not quite sure if they were trying to impress. The feeling that I think they were trying to go for was that they were friends, like lifelong friends. They were in the orphanage together, and they became lifelong friends, and then they are, that's what it is. But they kind of press it too hard to where it made it really awkward and not necessary, and so I don't, like, they just kept saying, oh, we're best buddies, oh, we're best friends, oh, we do everything together, oh, we're like, and they pick up this chick together, and it's just, it gets awkward. I'm not for sure. Like I said, I don't know if they're supposed to be a couple or if they are together. Like, I don't know how that, or they're just friends. Like, I don't know how that all works out. But then they get abducted by aliens, and the aliens are about to probe them, and before they do, they break free, and there are these wolf guys. Like, they've got weird fangs and claws and veins everywhere, and they're 1 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because I'm like, I don't know, it kind of got awkward and weird, and just wasn't very well thought out. Like, I don't know. And I mean, like, I don't know. If they wanted to make them friends, then they should have made them friends. If they wanted to make them lovers, then they should have made lovers. So it's almost like they didn't make that way, and so it got a little convoluted. I don't know. I hate when I read stuff and I don't know how to explain it, because I think it's more frustrating for myself. But I think that lends itself to why the book isn't that great, is because if you have a hard time explaining things, it's just too much. It's not like, and this is for #1. I'm not like explaining 20 years of X-Men history. I'm explaining like the first issue, and I can't get you through that. So unfortunately, and it wasn't my bag. I wish them the best of luck, because I won't be reading anymore, unfortunately. So, but that was it. Kind of a small week, so I was actually surprised. I didn't have like 80 million other comics. Oh, I did read Robin Hood, but I don't know if that came out last week or this week. Either way,
I think it came out this week.
Yeah, I think I read that I think it's last week, but I ended up reading it this week. So, but anyways, thanks for hanging out with us. If you can, please like, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell so you can get notified when we post new videos. We'd always love more conversation, comments, please below. I think last week James got a comment about his birthday. One of our friends wanted to wish him a happy birthday. And then, thank you for listening, and we hope your pull list is full. Bye.